Good afternoon and welcome to Assessment and Feedback in G Suite. My name is Lawrence Tajani and I'll be taking the session with you today. So let me just give you a bit of background about myself. Just having a bit. There we go. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Lawrence Tajani. I am a certified Google trainer and innovator. I was a former teacher and I taught computer science for 11 years. After doing that, I went on to be a trainer and I've also started up my own social enterprise. So do feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and where you're from today. And I'm really hoping that you get something from this today. So in today's session, we're going to be learning about the feedback tools and assessment tools that are built in with Google. And also we're going to be going through Google Classroom, Docs, and also looking at some third-party tools. So we have a range of tools that are inside G Suite. You've got Jamboard, and we're going to look at Google Docs, Slides, and Google Classroom. And if we get enough time, we'll go into Google Forms and how we can leverage that for assessment and feedback too. After we've done that, we'll then be looking at Nearpod and potentially EduPuzzle, and then Screencastify, Molt. And we'll talk briefly about Loom, but Loom is very similar to Screencastify. So let's get into the demo. And what I'm going to be sending out in a moment is a Jamboard. So let me just change screens and add my screen in for you now. And there we go. We have my screen. And what we've got here, the first tool we're going to look at is Jamboard. Okay, Jamboard is quickly becoming one of my favorite tools and go-to. And it's really lightweight and quick to get feedback and do some assessments on there. So we're just going to have a look at this one. And I'm going to share that link out to you in the chat. If you've got it, please have a click into it. It can only have 50 people at one given time. So some of you may not be able to get into it. And what we're going to do is just have a quick look at this. So on the left-hand side, I've got my toolbar. And this is where I can use the different tools. So I've got a pen tool, I've got the eraser, I've got my pointer, and my sticky note. And this is what I use a lot of the time, a sticky note. My good friend Ben loves a sticky note. So let's just zoom out. And what we're going to do with this to start off with is we're going to add a sticky note. So I'm asking primary or secondary school, add your name next to the picture and see where you're coming from as well. So I'm just going to put a sticky note on. So I just click on the sticky note icon and let's put my name in. If I can spell my name, that'd be very handy. And just click save. So I can do a number of sticky notes, but what I can do here is just get the students just to feedback quickly. So I've been able to just say I'm from secondary class, once a secondary teacher, always a secondary teacher. So I just put that here and that's me using a sticky note on there. Now, to show you how I might use this with my students, I would go onto a new frame, and the new frame, to go to a new frame is at the top here. If we zoom in, you can see I've already got 6 frames. So I'm just going to progress to the next frame. So I just click on the next arrow and that will take me to the next frame. Now, this is what I would potentially use with my students. I'd put an image on the deck Okay. And I might ask them to say, what do you see in this picture? And then ask them, what emotions, do you see in this picture? So I've put some post-it notes here already. And I can say, right, boys and girls playing football, two teams. I could ask, what emotion has that girl in the front with the ball got? She looks like she is determined to go and score a goal. So the students could then put sticky notes around this, conveying what emotions are going on. Like I said, this is really lightweight and easy to get feedback from students very quickly. So I'm just going to go over how I did that again. So I simply went down to the left-hand side, and this icon here, I just selected a sticky note. And the kids can do that themselves as well and add the sticky notes. You might want to create a couple of blank sticky notes saying, please complete, and have that there ready for students if you wanted to. So I'm just going to zoom out there. And just thinking that some people might go, how do I add an image to this Jamboard? So I can just click on add image, and I can upload one. I can go by URL, camera, or just do a Google image search as well. Just close that off now. Now, I've shown you what Jamboard is and what you can do with it. But before I just go into the next frame, what I think is pretty important to do is just to show you how you would access Jamboard. So if I just open, add a new tab, I can simply just go down to my waffle and scroll down, and then I would have Jamboard here. Okay, so I simply went over to the waffle in the top right hand corner and then selected Jamboard. Now, Jamboard is completely free. It's one of your core tools. You might just need to ask your administrator, if you haven't got already, to add that so all staff can access Jamboard. Let's just go into another frame. And this time, this is maybe for the older students. It's the same thing, same principle from the first image that we showed you. Was I might get them to talk about the characteristics of the characters from Of Mice with Men. And this is maybe a good plenary or a starter that we could use for the beginning or end of our lessons as well. And it's the same method of just going down and getting the sticky notes and placing them around this image and describing the characteristics of them too. And a nice little maths equation here is I can actually say to them, okay, right, mark and solve this equation problem out of 4. And then they have to jot their sticky notes down or saying where the issues are as well. They could also, if we didn't want them to use the sticky note, we could potentially get them to use the pen tool and go through and say, add the 7 there as well. It's also nice to have as a simple digital whiteboard, which is now integrated in Google Meets as well. So that's a nice handy tip of like a quick way on how you could use Jamboard. Just before I move into classroom, Wendy, are there any questions that have come up or anything like that they want answering on Jamboard?
Nothing just at the moment, so I'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, so I'm just going to close that out now. And do feel free to ask any questions that come up later about Jamboard. We can revisit it, no problem at all. So we're going to head over now to Classroom and look at how we can do assessment and feedback in Google Classroom. So let's just start off from the beginning, because there's a few things that I like to use in Classroom before even going into the Google Docs or Google Google Slides. So let's go into classwork. And this is the teacher's view, and I've set up my week so I have my Monday, my Tuesday, so it's just clear for the students as well. But what I do like to leverage in Classroom, if I just zoom in, is on the create, is the question. So you might have a section called question of the week, and you might ask the big question. And the reason why I like to use questions in Classroom sometimes is I like to start a debate maybe. So we could put in, has VAR made football? Oops. And this will get a debate, hopefully. And I'm not going to say what my personal views are on this, but hey. So I've asked my question here, and I've got an option to the right-hand side, if we just zoom in there, where it can be a short answer, and the students can reply, and then they can reply to each other as well. Or I can then do multiple choice, just simple yes or no. This is another quick way to get feedback from the users. I can see some people saying straight away, no, VAR has not made it better. So I'm just going to zoom out there. But I'm going to do a short answer on this one. And the reason why I want to do a short answer on this is I want students to reply to each other. Now, that's something that you would have to decide within your school, because it can make the stream a bit, busy. But I would like them to reply on this because it strikes that debating skill up as well. So we're going to do a due date. So put a due date on, and I've put a time in there as well. Okay. And I might say students can edit that answer, but on this one, I'm going to say no. And then I can just ask that question. And this will appear for them. So maybe I should have put a topic in there saying question of the week, and we could have all our questions over a period of time where we can go back and revisit them as well. So that's just a nice, handy, quick way to get a bit of feedback from students and assess what they've learned as well. And it could be an exit ticket at the end of your lesson as well. So yeah, do leverage that bit. So we're now going to go and look down at a task that I've created called the water cycle. So this is in draft mode at the moment. I'm just going to click into this now, and I'm going to go and edit this assignment before posting it off. So let's have a look at this. To the right hand side, we've got the points. So what points I'm going to award for this task. And then I've got my topic, and I always like to put a due date in, even if it's in today's lesson or it's in a couple of hours. I like to put that in. It just helps the students know what is expected of them as well. So I'm going to click on here where it says due date again, and we're going to say the 3rd, and we'll say same thing there. But I'm just going to open up this slide that I've created. So just open it up. And this is another drag and drop task for them. I've got my instructions to the left-hand side, and all that is a text box ready for them to get their instructions and what they have to do. Then I've got an image that I have sourced from the internet. Okay. And then I would simply ask them to drag and drop these text boxes that I've created. Now, you might look at this and say, oh, that's not a normal layout of a slide. All I've done is gone to file, page setup, and change the dimensions of that. And also I've just got some more information here so they can add their notes in there as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm happy with that at the moment, and I'm going to assign that to Wendy, and hopefully she'll be able to just have a go at this. So I'm just going to close this now. And remember, just make sure that I've got a copy for each student. Yep, happy with that. And just go up to the top right-hand corner and then click assign. And assign that. And in the background, Wendy will be working on that. So I'm just waiting for that to assign, just taking its time. And there we go, it's been assigned. And I can see it's been assigned to 2 students because that's all I've got in my class at the moment. So I've got 2 students. And then what I can do is just go into there, and then I can decide. So this is what I call like my marking screen, of where I go back and start to do some feedback potentially. But I don't need to wait until the end of my lesson. I could go in and give feedback as well. So while Wendy's doing the work. So let's just jump into Wendy's assignment. Oops. Let's see if she's opened it up. Hold on. And there we go. There it is. So I'm just going to jump into that assignment. And I can see Wendy has started to drag and drop. So at this point, I don't need to wait for Wendy to submit that. I can give her feedback as we're going along. So I can say, oh, this is great. And this is what I was talking about, leveraging the private comments straight away. Or I could just click on that and right click and then just comment and give Wendy a comment on that. So I can say, good start. And just comment on there. So just zoom in there, just a good start, and just comment on there. Now, what Wendy can do is then reply to me instantly in that document as well. But say, for example, I'm going through this, navigating through my documents or the student's documents, and I see a misconception. Instead of me having to type this out for every single student, what I would do is actually go back to my classroom and then just go to my instructions and just come down here and maybe just give class feedback, because everyone's making the same mistake. So I might just give class feedback here. And I think this is something that do utilize. It does save some time as well, particularly if you're seeing the same mistakes being repeated from students as well. Okay. So we've had a quick look at slides. And now what we're going to go and do is we're going to go and look at a Google Doc and how we'd set up an assignment in a Google Doc for a student. Wendy, are there any questions about that just before I go on to Google Doc?
There's a couple of questions here. Miss Kalajars was asking about which site you use for the emojis. How have you got the emojis onto your Google Classroom?
Oh, Bitmoji up here.
Yes.
Yeah, so Bitmoji is as an extension, and again, that's something that students really like. So what I would do sometimes is actually have the Bitmoji installed, and if they've done an amazing piece of work, I would say A star, and that has an avatar of me going A, and the kids really love it. Even the big kids, they're like, "Sir, where is my stamp?" or "Where's my Bitmoji?" So yes, do leverage that. It's called Bitmoji, an extension, really nice.
And the second question was from Michelle, was asking about scheduling assignments. Can you create an assignment and schedule to more than one class at the same time? It seems you have to create 2 of everything if scheduling.
Yes, so you can't schedule to multiple classes at the same time. What I would do is, if I'm using it in a different class, what I would simply do is if I just go back to my class tab and go to classwork, I would simply just go to the top again and click on create, but go down and reuse post. So you would have to go into that classroom and then schedule it, but at least you can just go into reuse post and then schedule the assignment. So that's a really handy way. So if I even just click on that, let me just zoom out and just click on reuse post and show you actually what happens. So what it will do is it will, because I was using it in this current classroom, it will bring up all the assignments that I've used previously. But if I just come out of there now, I can then go into different classes where I want that task, select it, and then I'll be able to reuse that post and then schedule it that way. So that's the quickest way I would suggest using. Hope that answered your question. Okay, so we're now going to move on to, again, using Google Docs to carry out assessment and feedback as well. So I'm going to go into this one that I've drafted earlier. And I'm just going to edit the assignment. Okay, so I've got my instructions here, but one of the things that I like to do is actually try and give more instructions on the actual worksheet that I'm creating. So it's actually in one place for the students. And what I'm also doing is leveraging YouTube to also assist them in their learning. So I've got a couple of YouTube videos there that I've assigned, and I've got a document that I've created. So let's just quickly go and have a look at this document. So what I've got here is just a simple doc. I'm going to zoom in a bit actually. Simple doc that I've created. And what I like to do is use tables to just show students or highlight to students the bits that they should be filling in. So all I would simply do is here, if I just get rid of this, so I can just show you what I did. So I've got my question here, but I might just want to insert somewhere that the student is clear for the students to input their work. And what I can do is simply just go to insert, just at the top here, and just go to table and just go for one column and just have that there. And that's kind of like a workflow. So once the kids start seeing that, students start seeing that, they will be able to know actually, oh, I'm here, I need to do some work here. And that also helps with formatting as well in your worksheets as well. If you want to get a consistent style, some teachers, sometimes I just want them to actually show their working or to do it in the vision they see the best way to present the work. And also, as I mentioned earlier, instead of me having all my resources in Classroom, what I've done here is put the resources or links to the different resources in the actual document. So making use of hyperlinks. So instead of them having to jump between tab and this tab and that tab, I can have all the links for them in this document. So there's all my table on my worksheet. I'm happy with that. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to come out of there again, and just before I assign it to Wendy, there's a couple of things that I just want to have a look at. So in the bottom right, we've got check for plagiarism. So an originality report. And what that simply does is if the students are not, haven't referenced their work, it would flag that for me. And it would tell me essentially where they've got it from on the internet. So I use this more as not as a tool to catch them out, but to say, produce your best piece of work and reference responsibly as well. Okay. So what I'll just do is just select that. So you just need to make sure you select that. And if I just zoom in to see what this says here, is you can enable originality reports on 5 assignments per class. Okay. So you get to run this 5 assessment assignments per class. Okay, so just be wary of that. So I'm just going to zoom out there and just click continue. But I'm still not ready to actually assign this because I want to also show the rubrics. Okay, so I'm going to add a rubrics here. And what I'm going to do is import from a sheet because I've created a rubrics that I've used from another lesson already, and just for the purpose of time and this session. So I'm just going to click on import from sheets. And then I've got my rubrics and I'm going to go for this one and just double click. And this is going to import my rubrics. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So rubrics is essentially, I would say, your mark scheme. And this is really powerful with the situation that we find ourselves in, where students can actually see what they need to do to obtain a certain level. So what we can do is we've got the title for the criteria. So we've got citation. And then what I also can do is actually go to the description for this task. And then I have my different points levels. So if we just start at the bottom here, I've said, if they were to meet this level, they would get 5 points. And I've said it's a beginner level. And then I've gone to the description of why is that level. And again, this is really handy for the students to have a look at. And if I did want to add another level, so I could just say, click on the plus to add a level. Just zoom out there, just click on plus. And I might just say 0 and just say not started. And then I could put a description in as well. Okay, so this is just clear for them. And if I scroll down, you can also see the criteria down here as well. Okay. So there's an issue here because it won't let me assign this because I've not assigned a point score. So let me just put these point scores in quickly. So it's 25, 20, 15. So these are required. These have to be in there, the point scores. So 10 and then 5. So I'm now happy with that. That's ready to assign that. Okay. So I'm just going to remove this one because we don't need this. So I can just delete this. And I'm happy with that. So now it's out of 100. So all I would simply do now that I'm happy with that is just simply click on save. So in the top right hand corner, just click on save. Now my rubrics appears here and I can just go into there and click on this and edit it if I needed to. So I'm more or less happy with this now. So what I'm going to do is just assign that to Wendy. Click on assign and just click on, there we go. And that will assign to Wendy as well. There we go. So that task has been done. And we're just checking on Wendy in a moment. And I think I'll just see if there's any questions that have come up as well. So yeah, that would be great to know. I'm sure there are primary schools using it. There are a few colleagues that I know are definitely using it. And the thing is, you can make that rubrics simpler as well. And I would even say definitely leverage them, particularly where students are working from home, because that also, if their parents are assisting or helping, it gives them a kind of insight of the different levels and how they need to obtain that as well. Yes, you can change the order of the assignment. So I'll quickly show you that as well. So if I just go to my classwork, so say, for example, we click on this bit here. So I've got this task here. I can literally just drag where I want to put my assignment as well and how that is displayed for them. Okay, so what we're going to go and do, we're going to go and view this assignment now. And just load that up. And we're just going to jump into the document. So I'm going to let Wendy work away because I am working and she's multitasking in the background. So I do apologize, Wendy. But what we're going to do is Wendy can still carry on working. But let's just have a look on the right-hand side here. And there's a couple of things that I just want to go through. So I've got my grade. So I could go through and simply go 100. But I'm not going to do that. I could actually just do the grade after looking through the assignment. But what I can do is I can literally just go through this now and go, okay, let me look through this. Okay, yes, she's done that. And I can just select what level she's at. So I might say at the moment, not started, or just actually, let's say beginner. And that will update the grading just at the top. Or if I change it to master, it would update it there. So it does the calculations for me as well. So again, this is really handy. And the students see this as well. The students, it informs them of what they need to be doing to get a certain level. So let's just click on that. And then I can just expand the next bit that I want to go through and say, right, this is a scholar. And again, look, it's updating at the top there as well. So that's me using the rubrics. But what I'm also going to do is, if you can see, let me just zoom in here for you. I can actually now check, do a plagiarism check on this to see if Wendy has been referencing where she's got her sources from. So I'm just going to zoom out. And I'm just going to click on this now. And this will do this in the background. So we'll check back on this in a moment while that's just checking through that. But also what I wanted to highlight is just under the grading tab, we've got also the comment bank. And the comment bank is really powerful and really handy. So you can see on the right hand side, all the comments that I've got in my comment bank. Just zoom in here as well. So these are comments that I use over and over again. Instead of me having to add them or type them out all the time, I can simply just add them to my comment bank. So let's zoom out there. So let's just go through this. Like this was a good, yep, that is the right answer because I know that off by heart. So what I would just simply do if I want to use my comment bank is just highlight this and give some feedback to Wendy. And I'll just click on the little speech bubble that comes out and just click add comment. And now if I just move it there and just zoom in a little bit, if I start typing good job, that's come up because that's in my comment bank and I use that phrase regularly. I've added that and that's just come up for me. So let's click on good job and then I can just click comment. There we go. So that was me just using comment banks. And if I wanted to add to my comment bank, simply just go over to the right, click on add to bank, just zoom out. And what I can do is paste multiple lines of comments as well. And this will be accessible for all my classes. It's not just for one class, it's any class I can access these comment banks when I'm making comments. It's a really handy tool. And yes, please do use that. Just zoom out there. Oops. Zoomed in a bit too much on that one. So, going to go back to the grading bit now. And my report's ready. It's ready. So, I'm just going to click on it now because it says one flagged passage. So, let's click on that now. And that opens up a new window for me. And if I scroll down, you can see it's highlighted this passage. Okay. And I can go and look at the web matches. Let's just zoom in a bit. So it's flagged the student passage up here. So we've got this bit, and then it also tells me the top web match as well. So I can see where the student's got it from, and the student hasn't referenced it. So I just zoom out there, and I'm just going to close that originality report because okay, I've made a note of that there. And then all I would simply do is scroll down to the bit where I've asked Wendy to fill it in, highlight it again, and simply just click on and simply start typing, please. I think I've got this in there. Please explain. And there we go. Please reference your work. Remember, because that's been in my comment bank, I've been able to do that. And I've just clicked on now comment. And if I'm happy with that, I'm happy with this grading here, happy here. I can just ask Wendy to please update. And remember, with the private comments, that will only go to Wendy. So get your students into a habit of replying to your private comments as well. The tools are there, but they have to also get into a flow of like, look out for your private comments because they will get a notification if they've got Gmail switched on. And also if they're using the app, a notification will pop up too. Okay. So I would say, please update and then post that. But just remember this, I've not returned it. And this is important, is to make sure once you finish marking the student's work is to return it. So at the top here, just make sure you return it because when they do submit it, remember you become the owner of the document and they can't access it. So just make sure that you return it, or if it's before the deadline, just simply ask them to unsubmit it. So I'm just going to click on return. And again, it will say, you sure you want to return this? And it will give the mark there. And now that's been returned. Oops. That's been returned for Wendy. So let's go back to now. Now it's been updated with graded and assigned. So that's there now for Wendy, and Wendy will be able to see that. Okay. So just before we move on, I'll take some questions before we move on to doing some quizzes. So Wendy, have we got any questions that have come in? I know that's quite a bit to take in.
Nothing in particular coming up yet. I've answered a few, like, can you put Bitmojis in the comment bank? So you can put Bitmojis in comments, because I've just done that on your document. Someone's talking about voice notes, which I know you're coming to later.
Yes, definitely
Just
coming
a
on
few
to
things around rubrics, but nothing, no questions. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Wendy. So we've done using docs, using slides, and giving feedback. The next bit we're going to go and quickly have a look at is forms. And the forms are really powerful. That I think they might be my favorite tool, forms. They were a changer for me. So again, let's go to classwork. And we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to just zoom in, and I'm going to click on create. And I'm going to go a quiz assignment. And I'm going to give this title of just general knowledge. There we go. And I'm not going to, maybe I'll just change the topic of where we're going to do this. Let's say we'll do it on Friday. And what we're going to do now is we need to actually start to create our quiz. So in order to do that, we're just going to double click on where it says blank quiz to open that form up. Okay, so here's my blank quiz. I'm just going to rename that general quiz. And I'm just going to make sure that I change it at the top as well, so it gives it a suitable title when it appears in Classroom. So just all I've done is just copy and paste that, and where it says blank quiz, paste that down there. Okay. And right, let's start asking some questions. So you'll see here, I've got my answer key, which is important that we'll look at in a moment. And let's just zoom out there. And I've got my different types of questions that I can ask. So my short, my paragraphs, multiple choice, checkbox, drop downs. And we can use a range of these as well. So let's start with a simple one. Okay, let's go for what is the capital of England? First question that I've put in there. So what is the capital of England? So I can go in and I can say London, Wales, Paris. Okay. Now, before I go into the answer key, I want to make sure that this is required, that they have to complete this. Okay. They have to answer this question. Okay. So I'm going to click on that. And I have to tell them what's the right answer, because I haven't done that yet. I've just listed the possible results. So I can just click on the answer key. Let's click on that. And let's go for London, because that is the right answer. But importantly, before I leave this screen, I want to make sure I assign what the point value is for this particular question. So I'm just going to change that to 1. Okay. And then what I've got here is the answer feedback. I can give some answer feedback on here. So if they got the question incorrect, I could type in some manual feedback. But also what I could do is actually put a video in. to reteach them definitely during this time. So I can put capital cities, and I can find an appropriate video that will work here. So I found one, baby cities, and add that. So I can select that. So if they got that answer incorrect, they would then be able to watch this video, and then maybe they could resit the test. It depends on what you're doing, because you have some quizzes where you might say they can sit it multiple times, and we'll go through how we can do that. And then we could go correct answer, and I can just simply say, well, and save that. But also just down here, I just want to zoom in here for you. Okay, where it's got the paperclip, I can add a link to a document, to a website, anything that's going to help them learn this piece of information. So click on that and click save. There we go, and that appears here. And I'm just going to come out of there. So it's really important, because sometimes people are like, how do I get on to the next question? It's just once you finish doing the answer key, you select done. And that's our first question. And on the right hand side, I can simply just go to up here. I have the option of adding a question. But what I'm going to do is, this is a tool that came out last year, is I can import questions. So I can import questions from previous quizzes that I have created. So to do that, I'm just going to click on that icon here. And what that will do is, when I select that, it will load up all my forms, and I can go through and look for one that is particularly going to help me with this general quiz. So let's have a look. I've got a recycling quiz. Yes, let's use the recycling quiz. So I'm just going to double click on that. And what's happened here is, on the right hand side, all those questions from that pre-existing quiz have appeared here. So I can just simply then click on this one, or if I wanted all the questions to come across, I would just say select all. And I think what's really powerful with this is, if your whole department is using it, you can then start to have a resource bank of loads of quizzes that you could use for end of topic assignments, end of year tests online as well. So you're actually doing the work in the background by, creating quizzes. So it gives you a nice large pool as well. So I'm going to click on those because I like all of them. So select all, and then I'm just going to import these questions. So all these questions have been imported. They've taken the point score from the previous quizzes. So I might just want to double check these questions as well, just to make sure they've got the right point score. And remember, if I wanted to change this point score, I could just click on the question and then click on answer key. And luckily I did that, because there weren't any point scores assigned for this. So I could just change that to say, let's just call this a 5-mark question. And then just click on done. Okay. And then I've got my total point scores up here. And so far, I'm happy with that. I might put a form description in as well. I could also leverage YouTube. So I could actually, if I just add a YouTube video section, I could put in a YouTube video about geography. And if I insert that, let's go for that one. I'll just click select, give it a name, a title. But what I could do underneath that is, based on them watching that video, is then start to ask questions from that video as well. Okay, so that's a really handy tool as well to play there. So I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to close that now. Go back to my class, and this will update because I have put the title in there. It will update. It takes a bit of time for that to happen. And important here is I've selected grade importing. So essentially what will happen then is once they've completed the quiz, I will get the option when I go to the students page to import their grades from that quiz. So I don't have to go through and line it up and go, okay, that person got that result, that person got that result. We can automate that as well. So general quiz, and I just assign that. And that's there for Wendy to complete. But I've just realized something. I might just go back and view that assignment and actually just edit it, actually, because one of the things that I didn't highlight is some of the settings that I also can go through. So let's go to the cog at the top. I have the option here. So I just click on the cog in the top right hand corner, and I have the option to limit to one response. Okay. If I only want them to sit this test once. Okay. I've also restricted it to my domain. And if we go and look at presentation, I could shuffle the questions around, but just be very careful with that. If you've got questions that branch off, that can mess up the flow of your forms as well. I've got a confirmation message here. And my advice sometimes, if you're going to be releasing them manually, is maybe to say the results for this will be released in 5 days, just to also, manage their expectations as well. Because some of the kids are very eager and start emailing you, where are my test results? And then, yes. So what I just mentioned there is you've got release grade, which is immediately after. So as soon as they finish their test results, they can get it straight away. Or we can say later, after manual review. So the reason why you might put on late after manual review is you might need to go in and mark your extended questions, so your paragraph questions, because they're not marked automatically. I'm just going to click, I'm happy with that, and click out there, and that's been assigned. I can see a few questions coming up, Wendy, about quizzes. So I don't know if we just stop for a minute and just go through those questions potentially. Just so you know, I'm a quiz. Not really sure on that question. Is that on that question there?
Somebody was asking a question about how would they share their quizzes with other teachers. So we've always been suggesting that they create a classroom and become co-teachers. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, definitely. So what I would do is I sometimes create a template classroom, and that will be for my department, and all the teachers in that department are in there, and they can add different assignments to that. And that way they can actually reuse the quizzes from there, the assignments in there as well. So that's a good way to do that. Another way, as Wendy mentioned, is if you're in charge for the year 11 resources, is just maybe add the teachers as co-teachers, and they can reuse posts from there too. So there's 2 ways: actually create a template classroom that all members of the staff contribute to, or just simply add a teacher as a co-teacher to your classroom. Does the importing grade save the need for having to export results? Yes. So that would just import into your Google Classroom for you, and you'll be able to see that. So if I just click on the save on this one, so you can see that. Oops. Because I've switched that on, if I know Wendy's multitasking here, but if Wendy had completed it, oh, there we go. Wendy's amazing. She's turned that in. I can simply now just click on import grades, and you'll see what will happen here. I click on import grades. It would say, are you sure? I say, yep, I want to import those grades. And there we go. That's been imported into my system. So I don't have to go and do it manually. I can just import that and keep on doing that way. So hopefully that helped you on that bit there. Everyone happy with that? Okay, so we've gone through the core tools in Google, and what we're going to have a look at now is some of the third-party tools. So what I'm going to do is just go back to my assessment bit here and look at classwork, and I think I've got one set up. So we're going to go for how influential is Facebook, and we're going to edit this assignment again. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I've set it up. I just need to add the document to this piece of work. So just click on add and then Google Drive, because it's in my Google Drive and I created it earlier. And I'm just going to do a quick search for Facebook. There we go. And I've got my document there. I'm just going to insert that there. So just want to make sure that I've changed that to make a copy for each student. But before we assign it, I just want to quickly look into this document again. So I'm going to go into this document, and all I've simply done is created a question with a text box, and it's what we did in a previous document. But this time I've done a couple of things here. I've put a word limit on there for the students. So this sets the expectation of how much I'm looking for the students to add to it as well. And one of the things to show your students is actually to show them where to go and see the word count. So I can just go to tools, and then I can just click on word count. But what I would also advise showing your students is display the word count while typing, so they can see what's going on. So just click on display word count. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out of this now because I'm happy with that. And I'm going to assign it to my class. I'm happy with that. And just click on assign. So while that's assigning, I'm then just going to actually jump across as a student now. So I've just gone to my student screen, and I'm just going to quickly go into this assignment. So I've gone in this as student 1, and I'm just going to go into this one because this has been created for me. Just click on here. And I've got some text already for this, so I'm just going to paste that in, that text that I've created. And this is the bit again that I would show students just to see their word count, because I've said a 60 word limit is if they go and highlight that and just go to tools and then go down to word count, click on display. So because I've highlighted it, it tells me that I'm working at 41. So I just click OK. And that appears there. So that's handy for the kids just to see this. So I'm happy with that from a student's point of view. And I'm just going to click turn in. Yes, and it just wants to confirm that I've turned that in. Now I'm just going to go back to teacher mode, and I'm going to go and look at this assignment. But this time, I'm going to use some different tools to give some feedback to the student. So let's just open this up. And a tool that I'm going to use this time is a tool called Molt. Okay, and Molt is an audio clip that is very lightweight, which allows you to give audio feedback. Really powerful tool called Molt. So let's just zoom in here because I know so I could highlight this bit. Oops. Zoom out there. Highlight where it says Facebook. Go as I would normally do to add a comment. Click on add comment. If you just scroll to the side and just zoom in a bit, you will see that this purple M appears. Okay. And what I can simply do is, if I just zoom out because I want to see what I'm giving feedback on, is just click the purple M. Well done, Lawrence. This is a good start, but let's just remember that Facebook is a company, so that should have a capital F. And then just click done. And that will think about it. And now that mote has been recorded, and I can just click on comment. So now that's, again, quickly given feedback, very lightweight, and the student will be able to click on that. Well done, Lawrence. And they'll be able to listen to that feedback. And again, that's really powerful, again, with the situation that we find ourselves in and not being able to be in front of them or next to them and say, actually, this is what I actually mean. And students can actually use Molt as well to reply to audio feedback or ask for help. And it's not just limited to just the comments in a document. You can also go to do it in private comments. So I could just do another private comment here and say, Lawrence, please just double check your work. There are a few spelling errors, but on a whole, I'm quite happy with this work that you have produced. And again, that will put the link in there to the Molt, and I can just post that Molt there. So this is really handy in terms of giving feedback quickly and precisely for students, and they can reply to you as well using a Molt. So I'm just going to return that actually, and I'm just going to let you see how it looks from a student's point of view. Yes, you can have a bank of comment Molts, but I think that's on one of the upgraded versions of that where you can save your Molts to. So on the free version, you can record for up to 30 seconds. And on the next level up, I think it is 90 seconds you can record to as well. So yes, you can have a Molt book, essentially. So I'm just going to go to the students view now. So here we are with my private comment here that I had submitted for the student, and now they can press play and they can listen to that feedback as well. And so yes, that's another handy tool in terms of giving feedback. And one of the things that I just want to highlight actually as well is I can also now, if I go to the top and select, I can go to my recent Molts as well, and I can click on my activity and engagement. So if I click on this gives me a list of the Molts that I have created as well, and it tells me if the student has seen it and have they listened to it as well. So this is really handy in having. So all I did was click on my Molt extension on this bit here, and I was able to look at my activity and my engagement. I can then look at my noticed, so they've noticed it. I love that, they've done that. And I can see these are the ones that have been played, but where did they get up to as well? And I can look at the ones that where they haven't looked at it. So I might just give them a little nod to say, hey, could you look at the feedback that I've given you as well? So, and I'm just going to see if I can just jump into slides quickly, because what I do think is quite powerful is that you can also use Molt to add audio to your slides as well. So I can just click on here and I can go and get Molt, or I can put up here, sorry, just there, and I can click next, just walk through this as well. Click next. I might just have to sign in again. Just confirm it's this account and click allow. Allow. I'm just going through this and allow. Now that should work for me in there. And I can just give audio feedback directly onto the slide. And if I hold that, this is, I would like you to create a slide about you in this presentation. And that will think about it, and then it will add it to the slide eventually. So I'm like, yep, I'm ready, happy with that. And just click insert. And might take a little bit of a while to do. But there we go. I've got my audio clip now that I can insert on my slide, and I can stop on a slide change, just zoom in. I have the option to loop the audio, the level of the sound as well. So that's just nice and handy to have as well. And I can select on click or automatically. Okay. So for it to be integrated and seamlessly for the students, they can have the extension installed, but also what it does very nicely is that it has a link, and if they haven't got the extension on their Chrome device, it will take them to the Molt website and they can listen to it. But in order to reply, they do need to have the Molt extension pushed out to them. But if they were just simply listening to the feedback, they will still be able to access that. Okay. Right, so that's the feedback with Molt, and really do recommend this tool. It seems to be a game changer for a lot of teachers who are using this for remote learning as well. Okay, so had a look at Molt, and now what we could also do is, if I go back to this document here, is I could use another way in terms of giving feedback. So let's look at this document. We just started it. I've used Molt, but I might have some students who are visual learners. And what I could do is use Screencastify. So Screencastify is an extension that allows you to record your screen as well. So if I just click on Screencastify here, I've already installed it. Yes, you can also add Molt to the stream. That's another good use of it, definitely. Is what I can do with Screencastify is I could give feedback, but this time record it as I'm reading through the work and hovering my mouse over or using the pen tool to write over it as well, because we have different types of learners who receive feedback differently. So what I can do is just, okay, I'm going to go for this tab and I'm going to click on record. And sometimes it depends on how your students are. You might want to put your webcam in the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner. So I'm going to put my webcam here, and I'm just going to click on record. I'll get a countdown, and I'm appearing in the bottom right. So over the last decade, a lot. Okay, let's change this. A lot. A lot is 2 words. So I just go like that. Change that for you. That's a suggestion. Facebook, we need to make sure it's got a capital F as well. And I can also go through and use the pen and then just actually highlight bits if I don't actually want to change it for the students. So they will get this recording. So I'm happy with that now. I'm just going to pause that there and stop. And what will happen is once I've recorded that and I've stopped it, it will then allow me to add it to my classroom and share that with the students. So if I click there, whoops. I've got more options here. There we go. Disappeared on me for a bit. So I can just go through and play this and hear the audio. But what I might do is just simply click on share to classroom. So I can share this to the classroom, for example, and as a task potentially. But if I just wanted to share it with students, I could just literally get the link to it and then paste that into the private comments. So I could just go back to Classroom and just paste that link into private comments. So this time they've got a visual as well, so they can see me going through and marking their work too. Okay. So, and another way that I like to use Screencastify with students is not just only to give feedback, but to actually get them to produce videos as well. So if we go to Screencastify, but this time I don't want it to record my screen, because I'm going to ask students to practice their vocab for me. So they would have to have this extension installed. And what I would do is select webcam only, and then click record. And then I will appear and it will say to me, I'm at this screen here, I've got so many screens saying, right, comment tout appel. That was a terrible try on that there, terrible. But then I could do some language with them with MFL, and I can just stop that when I'm ready for that. And again, that will open up in a new window. And when that opens up in a new window, I could simply just drag this over here so you can see that. So this is the video that I created, and they could simply then just click on here, name it, actually give it an MFL, terrible MFL, and then click on copy shareable link. And then in that shareable link, they would be able to submit that into Classroom as well. So yeah, that's Screencastify. I'm still trying to get over the fact that I just did some French online and it was done terribly. At that note, Wendy, do we have any questions? The children will have to actively seek out more comments, though. The children do not get an email from them. They have a comment. If you have put it into the private comment, they should get a notification, because it's the same process of typing it in, but this time we're just literally just putting in a link to it as well. And as Wendy said, you can add them as well in the document. Okay, brilliant. What I'm just going to go into now is EduPuzzle, and we spoke about using YouTube videos in our assignment, but we've got that thing where students are going to be students. They're away from home, and away from school, should I say, and they might just put the video on and just mute it, or they might just skip to the end. And EduPuzzle is very powerful. I'm not going to say quite powerful, very powerful in the fact that we can do some assessments with them as well. So I'm just going to open up a new tab over here, and I'm just going to bring this in EduPuzzle. So just bring that in. So we've got EduPuzzle over here, and it allows you to check the learning of your students as they watch the video. Okay, so at key points, we can ask them questions, and we can make sure that they're still engaged with the video and they're listening to it. So you've got curriculum over here where you can look at the different content across EduPuzzle as well. If you're part of a school, you can see the other resources that your school have put in here as well. And then we've got my content, so the content that you have created. Okay, and you can go and look for the videos across YouTube, EduPuzzle, Khan Academy. So there's a number of places where you can get videos and check their learning at different stages. So I've got a video here already that I found off YouTube, and it's about social media. I'm just going to click on this one, and on the right hand side I have the multiple choice questions that I've added to my video. So I can go through and edit the assigned video, and I can go and ask questions at different points and times and stages at the video, in the video. So I'll just click on finish there. And I'm just gonna play this, and I'll just show you what I mean by at different times when it stops the video to ask the questions. So if I just click on play, so that will go through the video. But you see that it stopped the video. It stopped the video. It's stopping to check at this point they're learning. So before they can move on to the next part of the video, they will have to answer this question, these questions, or the questions you put through there. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. And then I just click submit and then continue. And then that will allow them to continue through the video. And what I like about this is it stops them from skipping it. They have to watch the whole video in its entirety, as I found out today, that even if I asked the questions and tried to skip through, it wouldn't let me submit it until I actually watched the video from start to finish. So there's no way in them getting around that as well. That's a really powerful tool. If I just click on, actually, let me just add this to a new class. So what I'm going to do is let's click on my classes, and I'm going to add a new class in, because this, we can get that, we can add it to Google Classroom. So I can just click on this. I can type it in manually, but I'm going to decide to go to connect to my LMS. And then I've got Google Classroom. So just click on Google Classroom. And now I've got my assessment and feedback classroom that I created for this session. I can go through and select the grades. So let's just go for 15, 16 and select computer science. And then I can import classes. So I can go through and look at this. So I can look at the class members. So that's imported the students from Google Classroom. Okay. I've got nothing assigned to them yet. So let's just go back to the home page. And what I might want to do is now actually go and assign this to that class, because originally what I showed you before, I hadn't assigned it. It was a pre-existing demo. So now that I've got my class in there, I can now click on assign. And that's the class it was assigned to earlier. But now I can select the classroom that I'd set up, click on there, and I've got my start date is today, which will go live. I can say, right, it's due on a Saturday. Yes, I'm going to say a Saturday. And then click save on that bit. And here's the bit where it stops them from skipping, where they have to go through the whole video. Even if they answer all the questions, they've got to watch that video from start to finish. So I can do prevent skipping as well. And then I would simply click on assign. Now I've assigned it on the website, but I haven't assigned it to Classroom. And that member is my place to go to. So if I've got my students in that habit of everything comes through Classroom, I would then simply need to click on post on Google Classroom. Just click on there. And that will be posted to Google Classroom. So now if I go to Google Classroom now and just go and see classwork, there we go. It's been posted to Google Classroom, and it's posted at the top. It hasn't posted on my topics. So what I'd simply do in that manner is just go to that question there and drag that where it needs to go under what topic. Okay, and there we go. And that's EduPuzzle. Really do suggest having a play about with that and using that with your students. Really powerful tool there as well. Wendy, is there anything you want to add on EduPuzzle? I know you use it quite a bit.
I think you've covered that quite well. I think there's nothing there about EduPuzzle I can add. There's been some nice comments about different apps that people could use, and looking for comments that I've been answering. Nothing about EduPuzzle come up. And just about the stream, you might want to remind people about the stream.
Yeah, so we've got the stream here as well. So will the stream be sent out? Oh, yes, we will be sending out the stream as well to you. So that will be something you can go through at your own pace, and you can actually visit and view it on the site that we'll put up at the end as well. Because I do know it's a lot to take in. We have actually covered quite a lot, and I'm just going to actually I think I'm going to start closing off. So if there are any questions that you would like us to go through in terms of what we've covered today, now would probably be a good time to put those questions in as well. But before you go, very important, please do complete the feedback form. We want to know how we can improve these sessions and make them better for you as well. So yeah, the feedback form, if you just go to that will take you there to give you feedback. And we'd like to take any questions that you have regarding today's session. I know it was a lot of content, and we really hope that you got a lot from this session as well.
If you're coming to an end there, I'm just going to jump in and thank you so much for that really informative session. There were so many great tips there that Lawrence has given us. And as people have said, sometimes you've missed little bits, but the video is available for you to get back to. I'll pop the link up again in a minute so you can go back and look at booking any other sessions. If you've loved this session, please, first of all, leave some feedback for Lawrence. He's a great trainer, and we want to reflect that in the training. In the feedback, and also there are other sessions that you can book into. So I'm going to come out the way and just let you fill that feedback in, and we'll wait around for some questions. So we're here to answer questions for the next few minutes. So if you do want to book any more events, there are many more like this all the way through the year. So just go to bit.ly GFE UK events, and you can go back and book into as many sessions as you want.
Yeah, definitely do that. And just while you're filling in that feedback form, you've also got teach from anywhere.google, and there's some really handy resources there as well. And
there's a question about bespoke training come up there, Lawrence. I'm not sure of the answer to that one. I'm not sure about the answer to that one.
I think, Stephen, if you just add that to the Google Q&A document, someone will be in contact with you on that one as well. So if you just fill that in on the Q&A, thank you. Oh, thank you. I really hope you did get something from there.
Absolutely. Lots of great tips there.
And you've also got a teacher center as well, which has training courses, product guides, certification and program resources. So do go and have a look at that as well. I think that's the best part of training, of it's been helpful to people. So thank you for your wonderful comments.
I'm just pushing some of them up so you get to see them.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And I think there's something that Patrick just said there is, I will have something and I will be trying them. Just that's the only thing you can do, is go out and try. It's the same things we say to our students, be resilient, try. And I know this is a hard time and there's a lot of screen time, but yes, if you can use some of these tips that I've maybe given to you to actually get you to work efficiently or more, you know, quicker as well, and you're not getting burnt out, hopefully. I know it's really hard.
Absolutely. Shall we end it on that note? There's some great things
Yes.
there. We'll be in the background for a few minutes. We're just going to come off screen, but please, please, please keep adding your comments. Please leave your feedback and go back and book some more sessions if that's what you'd like to do. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Keep safe.
Thank you.